Biology course in college, it certainly never addressed this type of situation. In the middle of his second sandwich, Mark spotted a cloud of dust on the horizon. He radioed it into Gunny, and the old man had everyone get ready. Two of the MZB costumed men jumped into the foxholes on each side of the gate. The other four took positions as if they were watching the women. Mark looked over the courtyard. It looked just like he remembered it from his 2 weeks of watching it. He didn't see anything that he thought would give away the ambush. He hoped the MZBs didn't see anything either. It took several minutes for the lead vehicles to come into view. The other vehicles followed closely behind. The last one was the Watson's Jeep, and the sight of it threw a log on Mark's burning hatred for John, as if the fire could burn any hotter. As the Jeep approached behind the other vehicles, Mark could see through his binoculars that John was in its front passenger seat. Mark was pleased that he knew where John was and that the open top of the Jeep would give him a shot before John could even get out of the vehicle. Mark looked over the courtyard again. Everything seemed to be in place. There was even a woman getting firewood from a pile close to the gate and one of the fake MZBs watching her. As the convoy stopped in front of the gate, the two men who were assigned to it jumped out of the foxholes on each side and pulled it open. The convoy stopped well back of the gate. This struck Mark as a little unusual, but it was probably just a different driver, he told himself. Mark turned his focus back to his enemy. He could visualize where the Jeep would pull to and how he'd put his sight squarely on John's head. At the first sign of trouble, he would squeeze the trigger and end John's reign of terror over the ranch. The convoy didn't pull through the gate. It sat there for a long moment. Mark wondered if something was wrong. He looked to see what the matter was. At first, it looked like nothing was out of place. Then he noticed that the woman who was getting wood was staring at the convoy, her face filled with hatred, as she slowly walked toward one of the cabins. Mark knew all of the women he'd observed at the ranch walked with their heads hung as they did their chores. None of them would ever eyeball one of the MZBs. Mark couldn't see through the glare coming off the windshield of the lead truck, but he imagined they were noticing the same thing. Mark realized the driver was probably waiting for the man watching her to punish her somehow. If Mark had been in his place, he would have knocked her down with the butt of his rifle, as he'd seen done to the women many times. He would have done it easily enough not to hurt her, but hard enough to make it convincing to the men in the truck. He, however, could not be that man, since John might recognize him. In picking men John didn't know, Gunny had been forced to pick some of the newer ones. This one was obviously unaware of what was happening right in front of him. It would be his last mistake. Mark looked back at John and saw him listening to a small radio. The MZBs in the lead truck must have been reporting the problems to him.